I am Brady Menswar, and this is my research project for this semester. I did it on Agile, and this is called Agile, Is It Right for Me? So the point of this infographic is to kind of look at what Agile is, what it isn't, and some of the pros and cons of whether you might want to use it in your team or for your project. So what is Agile? Well, Agile is a type of project management, kind of a framework for project management that breaks down larger projects into smaller iterations called sprints, um, where the requirements and different things necessary change over time. A lot of teams are starting to use Agile. You can see this graphic to the right. 78% of respondents to this large survey were beginning to either use Agile or are interested in using Agile. So it's a pretty big section. It kind of starts out by making user stories, which are kind of how the end user might want to use your product. And it takes those user stories and creates different actionable items that you put into a backlog, where you can slowly put these things from the backlog into each sprint to work on throughout the process of your project. I also have a section for what Agile is not, and Scrum, although it is often used in Agile, is not a necessary component of an Agile team. A lot of people see them as the same kind of thing, but while Scrum is a very commonly used portion of Agile, it is not always there. I did find something very interesting. Compared to Waterfall, which is the main other project management cycle for software development, uh, Agile projects tend to have almost 1.5 times the success rate. So it does work for a lot of teams. Here for my critical analysis, we're going to look at some of our advantages and disadvantages. Some disadvantages are that it requires a lot of work. You have to constantly be in communication with your customers to understand what your requirements are, because if they are changing constantly or they need to be constantly looked at, you have to always have some way to know what your customer wants. Also, another disadvantage is that there's usually less detailed or even just less period documentation. Um, since the requirements are so close to the actual development, there's not a lot of time to really plan out all these different things and have a fleshed out documentation. So if that's an issue for you, it's something to think about. Some of the benefits, though, is that for a really big project, it can break it down into these sections that constantly have functioning software through the course of development, but it's growing and changing to the needs that it has, and it makes things not feel like they ever get halted or stuck. Another thing is that if you aren't entirely sure what things need to end up with, or you have a customer that is indecisive, it does allow you to change some of your requirements. So it's less necessary to be super upfront in the planning of how you want things to go. And here you can see to the right as well, we have a graphic showing that 93% of units that used an agile model before COVID outperformed units that hadn't. So it is something that has been working for a lot of teams. Outperforming non-agile methods does work in a lot of cases. But is it right for your case? That's what we'll look at here. It depends, truly. Agile does work for a lot of teams, and if you're doing a complex project that has a lot of requirements or changing requirements, or you have a big team and you need a way to get all these people kind of on the same page and quickly working through something, then Agile could be the perfect framework for you to use. However, if you're working on something smaller or pretty simple that you don't think you need to really break into these smaller chunks, using an Agile method might slow things down. It might be faster for a small team to just work through things as they come along, and then there's less issue about testing, and also there could be much better documentation. Thank you.